Welcome, everybody. My name is Craig Monroe. I'm the founder and editor of Elegant Literature, the first short story magazine to pay professional rates and only publish new writers. We also give a $3,000 award for a new writer every month. Today, I am joined by Charlie Rogers, the winner of the dreaded destinations, prompt and issue. Charlie, congratulations! You are an award-winning author. How does that make you feel?
I still can't believe it. I mean, it's been weeks now since the issue came out, and I am still in shock that this has happened. So thank you both.
Fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that. You've been published with us a few times. We're going to get into that. Very excited to meet you. We're also joined by Patrick Barb, who is the judge for this contest. Patrick, thank you so much for being here. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Just give us your background to anybody watching this who's unfamiliar with your work.
Yeah, sure. I am Patrick Barb, author of primarily kind of horror, dark fiction. Had some couple collections published, a few novellas, and just earlier this week, my debut sci-fi horror novel, Abducted, was released from Dark Matter Inc. and is available wherever books are sold. So if anybody's into alien horror, then I might have just the book for them.
Okay, I am into alien horror. That's awesome. Congratulations
Heck
on
yeah.
that coming out.
Love to hear
have
it.
to check. Gonna have to check that out. Maybe our editors
Absolutely.
throw the cover up on the screen or something at this point.
Oh man, I should go grab one, but yeah, we'll get it. We'll get one.
Yeah, a physical copy is even cooler. Having your own book in your hands. So Charlie, your story, Wrong About, is the award-winning story for The Dreaded Destinations. And it's a fantastic story. And anybody watching this really should have read it by now. If you haven't, pause this video, go read the magazine. It is free to download and read all the stories. All of our magazines, all 45 issues, are free to read, but you should definitely go read Charlie's story, Wrong About. It is a wonderful story, and the rest of our conversation will make a lot more sense if you've done that. But Charlie, just to give us all a quick refresher, can you tell us about your story in 30 seconds to a minute, just in your own words, what it's about? And feel free to use spoilers because we're going to be talking all about it.
Yeah, yes, right, exactly. And I probably should have you refreshed my memory of what my own story is before jumping into this call.
Happens to me all the time.
But it's about two guys on a road trip to see the spot where a mutual friend, actually, both of them have shared an ex-boyfriend, and this ex-boyfriend has killed himself, and they are returning to the spot where he killed himself. And that's basically the story. And the kind of drama that unfolds from that.
Yeah, there's a lot of tension, a lot of emotion in the story, brilliantly paced. We're gonna get all into that. I know Patrick's probably got a bunch of questions about it, as Patrick is the one who finally selected it. Although it was it was my top choice as well. And then discovering that it was your story, really fantastic, really pleasing for me because you've been published with us. I think this is your fourth publication.
It is.
People who are familiar with Elegant Literature, four publications paid at a professional rate, which we do, paying 10 cents a word, is our threshold for eligibility. So if this had been published and not selected for an award, Charlie would have, it's a weird business model. Charlie would have been unable to submit to the magazine an award anymore. I saw your name and I was so happy to see you win this award because I love your work. And this is certainly a very deserving story. Can you tell us? Oh, is that Louis?
That's Louis.
Patrick, I told Charlie before the call that it's okay if the dog comes in. People are used to cats barging in.
My dog Juniper is asleep on the couch over here, so she's present but not on camera. Let's say.
Louis is a cute one. Very distracting for me, that's for sure. I love cats. Charlie, can you tell us about what was like the moment of finding out that you were the contest winner like for you? Like, where were you when you saw it, when you read the magazine? Did you go tell anybody right away? That kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, so what happened was, I'm on this schedule where I kind of, tend to stay up late and then I get up kind of too early and then I nap in the afternoon. And so I don't remember the exact time, but the magazine was supposed to come out at 3:00. And so I was like, okay, I'll just wait up for the results and then I'll take a nap. And then that month, something came up for you that by 3:30 it still wasn't out, and then you changed it to 5.
Yeah, sometimes that happens.
Sometimes it happens. It's certainly not the first time. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm gonna just take a nap. So I did. I fell asleep, and then I woke up at 5:30, and I'm groggy, and then it hit me like, oh, elegant results. So I pulled out my computer and quickly went to the site, downloaded the issue, saw the table of contents, saw that my name was in there, and I was like, yes. But then rather than go to my story where it says, contest winners, I immediately jumped to Patrick's comments at the end of the issue, because that to me is always the, fastest way to figure out who won, because I don't assume it's going to be me. I don't even click every story, and I'm actually getting chills remembering this moment of seeing where you reference the title of my story and going, wait, what? Just in absolute disbelief. And of course, remember, I have just woken up.
Perfect. Just the best way to get that news.
Exactly. And it happened to also be my dad's birthday. So I don't even remember who I first told. But of course, it turns out, because I woke up at like 5:30, all my friends already knew.
Oh, okay.
They got the issue when it came out at 5, and they were like, oh my God, Charlie won. And then they're waiting for me to turn up online so they can congratulate me, and I'm sleeping. So then, after I saw the issue, then I realized that I had on Discord, on Facebook Messenger, just like tons of people going, where are you? Where are you? Have you looked at the issue yet? So yeah, that was kind of an amazing day.
This may be one of my favorite. Go ahead, Patrick.
I was going to say, once you're an award-winning author, you can make them wait. That's the whole point, right?
Well, I didn't know that.
Live that life. Well, you knew inside.
Yeah. It's maybe one of my favorite stories of discovering that you're the winner. I ask everybody this, and some of them are so fun. This is so great. I was asleep, and everybody knew before me.
I slept through it.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that is great. Congratulations. You are an award-winning author. You can put that on your CV and your author bio from now on. Your writing is great. You absolutely deserve it, and it comes along with the $3,000 grand prize, so that helps as well, I think.
Yeah, not going to complain about that.
Congratulations. So I know I've been asking you questions here, but Patrick is the one who selected your story officially. And I know Patrick's got some stuff he wants to talk to you and ask you about your story and about you as you're writing. So Patrick, I'm going to hand this over to you. Thank you so much for being a judge, for being an educator with Elegant Literature. It's been so wonderful working with you. And
awesome.
Thank you for selecting such a great story for the award. So I'll hand this over to you, and I'm not going anywhere. I can't help but talk about this stuff.
Yeah. No,
you
absolutely.
can take the lead.
Thank you so much, Craig, for asking me about judging, sending what was, I thought, a very strong crop of stories for the theme. I just talked to you about having kind of forbidden places, and we've settled on dreaded destinations because of the lovely alliteration there. And I think you threw in the part about the gate, and seeing the different ways that all the writers interpreted that theme and incorporated the gate into their stories was really something. And Charlie, your story really of a really high quality class really stood out. As far as having everything that I look for in a short story in terms of like character and the way it the way the plot unfurls and the way you're able to handle tone and get into kind of different aspects of the story. And I think I talk about a lot of that in the essay in the magazine that you mentioned. So I'm going to start out by getting just nitty gritty with you as far as questions go,
Okay.
because I am obsessed with how authors name their characters and character names. And your story has one of what I thought was a fantastic name, the character of Odie.
Yeah.
Where did that name come from, and how did you know that that was the name for that character?
I wish I had a better answer for you.
I thought that
But it just came to me. I've used it before.
Okay.
Years ago in a story that a vampire comedy that wasn't successful. I think that was Odie. Maybe that was Obi. Anyway, it just it just popped into my head, and I'm like, I'm just going to go with it because the character, I can already see who this guy was,
Right.
and he just seemed like he'd be an Odie. So yeah, just going with it.
Yeah. I mean, when you're naming characters and sort of putting them together, are you conscious of like how they sound in terms of like bouncing off each other in the dialogue tags? How much thought goes into that as you're writing?
Yeah, I do. I definitely think about that, and also think about having names that the readers will be able to separate from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like not having like a character named Mike and a character named Mark.
Yep.
That
Absolutely.
it'll just blur in the reader's head. So at the very least, one of them is going to have to be Michael or Marcus, but not So yeah, I do think about that. I don't even remember what the main character's name is in this story.
That's the problem. Summer, we all had busy schedules. We didn't get on this call it's been almost a month since the magazine came out.
Frank. I had my notes here.
Frank.
So yeah. Don't worry. I came prepared. I forget my character names all the time. If you ask me what a name of character in a story was, I'll be like, I don't know. I wrote that a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember the names of people in my life.
Yeah. Well, especially for me, the protagonist character, a lot of times, like they only get mentioned by name once.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You write in first person. Most of your works for elegant literature, I think, have been first person, if I remember correctly.
Probably all of them.
Probably. And I get the sense as well, Charlie, that you are a fairly prolific writer, right? Like you're writing for lots of stuff. It's not just one story a month for elegant literature. You've got other things on the go too.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it must be hard when you're writing at such quantity and at such quality, I have to say, but at such quantity, having different names for different characters probably is hard to keep track. So we got Frank, we got Odie, and we got Kevin, who is off screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and also confusing things is that, so just a few days after I finished Wrong About, I was in a contest where the prompts that they gave me kind of perfectly matched what I had come up with for Wrong About. And I was like, can I just write the same story again? So I did.
Okay,
I mean, it ended up different. It's set exclusively in an apartment, and instead of it being that the main character was romantically involved with the dead person at the time of his death, and the other character is the ex, I reversed it. But it still is about two guys who have dated the same person coming together after that person has killed himself. In both cases, having thrown himself from a height. So, and I wrote these stories like 4 days apart.
It works for other authors to do the same themes and motifs and go for it all the way.
This might be
and I didn't,
to bring up the fact that, you just said, can I write the same story again? And this might be a good time to bring up a question that I wanted to ask you since pretty much we first started publishing you, I think maybe over a year ago now, where Charlie's bio, Patrick, it says, Charlie is from your location and everything like that. And it says, and he writes the same story over and over again, ignoring birds and their importance. So a lot of the stories have a similar theme, and you just said, "Can I write it again?" So that's why I wanted to bring
Yeah.
up. I want to know what your take on writing that same story over and over again is, and God damn it, do I want to know about birds and their portents? Portents.
um, yeah, I mean, I don't really write the same story over and over again, except in this case where I did. But the two stories still ended up being quite different. But what I meant by that is that I have like a grab bag of themes that are important to me. And so it can kind of feel like I'm just circling the same, I don't say drain, but circling around the same themes and issues over and over again. And I don't actually see a problem with that, like a lot of
No, not at all. Yeah.
writers. And but yeah, because my trick is that basically all my main characters, protagonists, they're basically all just aspects of me. So then I kind of just work themes that are interesting to me and put myself, a version of myself, into them. And then I populate it with other made up people. That's kind of how I operate as a writer. And then, sometimes I take it further steps farther away from me. Further away from me? Some writer I am.
Farther, I want to say.
And in this case, it's probably farther. So it really doesn't end up being all the same stories over and over again.
I think it's not really the same story over and again, but it's, like you said, the same themes. And for anybody watching this, if you wanna make your own decisions and see kind of what we're talking about here, you can go back and read all four of Charlie's stories in Elegant Literature. There's Embers in the Phoenix Rising issue. There is Imaginary Birds in Secret Societies. And I think that one was a very close contender for an award way back then. And I'm glad that it didn't win so that we can be here having this conversation now. But there's Imaginary Birds in Secret Societies. And there's In This Place, Nothing Lasts in the Dear Death issue. And then, of course, Wrong About, which is the award-winning story in Dreaded Destination. So you can go check those out and see what we're talking about by the same story over and over again, because there's a really sense in there.
Yeah. And I will be checking those out for sure.
There was a sense of it, but I mean, if you look at those four stories, actually, like Embers is a dark fantasy, I guess. It was originally a science fiction story that I kind of trimmed the science fiction out of. But it is very dark. And then Imaginary Birds is a science fiction dystopian that turns out to be not as science fiction or dystopian as it appears. And Imaginary Birds, In This Place Nothing Lasts is sort of afterlife fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wrong About, it's funny to me because I didn't think that I haven't submitted that many non-spec stories to Elegant, and it's odd that I would end up winning with one.
Well, that actually is kind of an interesting point. It gives me a nice segue into my question, because I felt in reading Wrong About that the story kind of, while not being firmly in different genres, kind of touched on elements of different genres. The opening felt like there was almost this kind of sinister, horror-y vibe to the proceedings. You have people talking about like somebody's being dead and how they died.
Kidnapping.
We don't know. Yeah, kidnapping. There's these elements there, and then it moves into this almost absurdist humor. Very funny, I thought. Part in the middle with the motel and having to share a bed and the beers and everything, and then it ends on this kind of literary tragedy sort of note at the end. It's very beautiful, very very kind of to steal the name of the magazine, very elegant way to wrap it up. So my question is just like, how, when you're writing a story like that, what's your approach to like finding the balance in terms of the genres that you're sort of playing in and the moods you're creating? How did you find blending those and kind of having them come together in the story? And was that a part of the story's initial conception?
Well, I didn't think of it. I actually never really thought of it as a genre blended story. I still don't really like. I mean, not that I'm disputing what you're saying, but
Sure.
I just like. Oh yeah, I mean, it hints at all these other things, but to me,
Right.
it's still,
Yep.
it's a literary drama. Um,
Hmm.
but so with that in mind, I didn't. I
One
didn't
second, I gotta
plan.
pause.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I don't really. I didn't really have a plan.
Mhm.
For how to mix the genres because to me I didn't see there being other genres, so I guess it was really just kind of instinct
Yeah.
that that led me to go like, okay, we're gonna, I knew that I wanted to start intention, I guess. um I thought about it as um a journey through different tensions. So in
Mhm.
the car, there is the tension between, not where are we going, because that's already been established before the story starts, but that it's taking so long to get there. And these are two people who don't really know each other. And then
Mm.
in the hotel room, there is new tension. There's almost even a sexual tension that I had to be very careful not to overplay because that was not the story I wanted to tell.
Mhm.
And and then of course the conclusion when they reach their dreaded destination, um
Mm.
is it's a again a totally new type of tension and a tension release.
Yeah.
It's a good description
um
of.
Yeah, that makes
yeah
perfect sense.
And
Absolutely.
I'm glad you mentioned the because one of my questions was that the story wasn't sexual in nature or anything like that. I have it actually written down. It's probably phrased better than that anyway. Um, but basically, you mentioned like you didn't want to go in that direction with the story. It's not the story you wanted to tell, and there was tension there between them, but it never evolved into anything explicit or obvious. How did you how do I articulate what I'm saying? How did you balance that? How did you go into it? Like, did you know you wanted to have that? Because it was very intimate, especially in the hotel room scene. It was very intimate, and I was kind of like wondering, like, oh man, are we gonna get the two exes, connecting over the
yeah
creep? And no, we didn't go there, and you moved on, and I think it was handled very tastefully, and very well done. Where I wasn't like, oh, disappointed that that didn't happen.
yeah
And
exactly.
I was kind of like, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? There was a very human element of there is sort of this intimate stuff, this intimate situation, and maybe there's some tension there. But what will happen? Did you craft that scene with that in mind, or was it just a byproduct of the story that you were telling that you had to kind of steer away from but left in?
Yeah, I think I crafted it with that in mind, but I definitely didn't get it right in the first draft. That, I showed it to people, and like on my first draft, like where I left the scene, they assumed that a hookup occurred because of these two gay guys sharing a bed. Um, Perhaps they've ever met a gay guy in their lives. But so I had to tweak the scene to get it to be
Mm.
clear that that's not where this was going.
Yeah.
But the change that I made ended up being, relatively small. I think it's just at the end of the scene, Odie rolls over and turns off the
Ah,
light or something
Yeah, he
like
like rolls
that.
over and turns off the light, and then you moved on, I
Yeah.
think.
And then that just says, okay, scene's over. not, oh, what's going to happen next.
And it also, I
Um,
think that dramatic action also, like in the reader's mind, is like closing that door. Like he rolls over, turns off the light. That's not where this story is going. We're moving on to what's going on next. And I think that worked really well.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
well done.
Yeah.
That was the idea.
Another thing I thought was interesting, just in terms of how you played that tension out, was not so much. I never felt. I mean, I kind of see where there was that tension of will they, won't they, but you resolve it very well. But what I really thought the tension brought out was giving us more of a definition of who Kev, the deceased ex-lover, was. I felt like the way you played Odie and Frank off each other, it really made this character feel alive, who for the whole story is dead. And I was wondering, sort of, how did you approach writing about a character who is dead before the story started? What what did you try to do to keep him a vital part of the narrative, both in terms of like necessary for the story you're telling, but also feeling like it's a living, real character in this world?
Yeah, that I think I really just winged it.
Mm.
I mean, I'd love to be able to say that I like planned out who he was, but I think I just kind of trusted that you could, when you see who Frank is and who Odie is and how different they are. That's sort of like the gap between them is where Kev is.
Mm. Yeah.
And so I didn't need to get into a lot of specifics about, or, you know, have flashback scenes with him in them. Only thing I knew was, because it comes up very early, was that he had hit Frank before, you know, Frank tried to stop him and he hits Frank and runs off and does it. I knew that all along. That's not like incredibly telling character beat, but it is something. And so that's kind of the touchstone that I used to build him around. But he couldn't be just like this really like awful person, because then the entire emotional stakes of the story would be completely undercut. You know, two
Right.
people both grieving for a person that the reader doesn't care for is a tougher sell. So
Sure.
to some degree, I was inspired, you know, not really like directly, like I wasn't really actively thinking of it, but the movie The Big Chill,
Mhm.
which is, you know, about a reunion of friends who haven't seen each other in a long time, who are reuniting because one of their friend group has killed himself. And he remains sort of a cipher throughout the whole thing. And the story is not about him. It's about the people who remain and how they process. And so I wasn't like actively like, I'm going to write a story like The Big Chill, but it's a movie I saw when I was a kid, which is definitely dating me. But it's a movie I saw when I was a kid, and it was interesting to me at the time that the way you can tell a story around an absence.
Mhm.
You know, the interesting part of the puzzle is the piece you don't have.
Yeah.
I found that,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you know, fascinating as a kid, and so it's sort of always been there. Not that I write all my stories about, you know, dead people, suicides or whatever.
Quite a lot of it, though.
It's the first. Yeah, I guess that is. There are
Someone
dead
who's read
people.
several, like a dozen of your stories or more. There's
Exactly.
a lot of
Yes.
dead folk in them.
Yeah, yeah. I think you may have read as many as 17 of my stories. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I guess the other question I had, good to go back to those sort of the elements of your writing, especially in this story. a lot of times you hear that like humor and comedy are very hard to write and to write well. Do you have any secrets to share for anyone watching here for, how you handle these humorous aspects of a story and character, not just in a more serious piece like this one, but I think it helps to enhance the seriousness because you so effectively present the humorous aspects or the more absurd aspects of the characters and the events.
Yeah, I feel like my answer to every one of your questions is I wish I had a better answer.
That's perfect. That's my answer to almost every question too when I get asked them. So it's nice to know it spreads out.
Yeah, because some of these, I think a lot of it is just kind of like instinctual for me, of just knowing how to balance tones.
Mm.
It's not a thing that I learned. It's probably something that I've just picked up through practice, but I do think that it's important to vary tones. I mean, same as like you would tell a new writer to vary their sentence lengths.
Yeah.
That if every sentence is approximately the same length, it's even if you've got like you're writing about something interesting, it makes for a monotonous experience. And I think a more higher level bit of advice would be to play with tones, to vary tones. That it makes the experience more interesting. I mean, then there's also like that. I'm just like a kind of a silly person, so it is hard for me not to interject some absurdity or humor into almost everything I do.
That
I love it.
blowing,
I mean, that's one of the things that
Odie
I really
rolling
liked
down
about the piece for sure.
Odie rolling down the window and then blowing out the vape, and it not like, none of it going out the window. It just fills up the car, and then he rolls back up the window. I thought that was hilarious, and it was so funny, but it was also so kind of relatable, and also such a good indication of like who he is as a person. Like
Yeah.
it was many things all wrapped in one. It was just such a great little snippet, and I thought I was absolutely, I laughed.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the sort of these things do come after a lot of practice, a lot of reading. You mentioned the Big Chill as kind of a touch point in a way. Who are your sort of short story writing touch points? Like, what authors did you read that made you say, oh, "I want to do this. I want to give this a try"? And and secondary to that, like, who are you reading today that is sort of inspiring you?
Yeah, so my reading journey has been interesting. So, okay, so the first part of your question is who, inspired me to. There's a one. I was kind of just, I don't want to say born a writer, but I grew up into a family of writers. My mother was a writer who never really did anything with it. And then my sister was much more aggressive as a writer. And I, as a kid, just kind of wanted to do whatever she was doing. So it's like, oh, I'm a writer too. So I've been writing since I was, I don't know, 4 years old. I don't know, obviously. But I didn't really. So in high school, I wanted to be a horror writer. So then it's your basic, Stephen King, Peter Straub. Then I discovered Clive Barker, which was kind of a bad thing for me because it sent me in a direction. Like my skills and Clive Barker's skills don't really like overlap. And so trying to be more like him made me just be not like anything.
Much like you.
Yeah. But then in college, I discovered literary fiction. So it was like Susan Minot or Minot. I'm still 30 years later, do not know how to pronounce her name. Lori Moore, David Levitt. I would collect books just of short stories. I was not interested in novels. I did not have the patience at the time. or even still now, to read a lot of novels. So short story collections of short stories were perfect for me, and I kind of fancied myself a short storyist, a pretentious 20-something short storyist. But
Perfect.
yeah, that was where my main inspiration was, and that kind of it stayed like that for a long time. That I would really only read short stories, and I also took a break from writing through my 30s and 40s, basically. So I wasn't reading much or writing much. Then when I came back to writing in 2019, I don't have as much time for quote unquote pleasure reading because I'm reading so many of my friends' stories. I'm writing so much, and it's not that because I think reading is an absolutely vital part of writing. Any writer,
Absolutely.
good writer, will tell you, but so I don't want to say I don't read. I read a ton. I just am not reading published things. I have tons of very talented friends many of whom submit to Elegant every month, some who've won. We beta read for each other. So that's my primary thing. But if I read a novel these days, it's a murder mystery. So it's
That's not what I expected you to say.
Just
yeah, exactly.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so my brother,
are you in?
he and I took on this thing like a couple months ago. We started just finding books that were like Agatha Christie's and then there were none, and reading as many books that use that structure as possible. And now
wonderful.
He's writing one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I assume at that point that's
exactly
what happens.
This research has to go somewhere.
Now, are you in formal writing groups, like in person, online, or is it more of a casual friends who are writers beta reading each other's work sort of thing? I know those can be kind of nebulous, the line between those.
It's they're all online, and I would say semi-formal.
Okay.
Actually, all of them have at this point, just to keep membership from ballooning, have where you have to apply to be a member. The application is simple, like, do you know anyone else who's a writer, or anyone else in the group?
Have you won any awards?
Have you won any awards? But it is they are formal groups. They're not just like, hey, me and my buddies are all but they're all online. I've never managed to do outside of workshops in college in-person stuff. I have a bit of a social anxiety, so online works better for me anyway.
Yeah, same. I think the last time I went to a writing group was right before the pandemic, and then that hit, and I was like, thank goodness. All right, no more having to do that anymore. Worked out well.
The only time I ever joined an in-person writing group was the beginning of this year, sort of around Christmas, and it was on Tuesday nights. And I had a friend that had, for a year, we've been meeting every Tuesday as our kind of get together and keep up with friends night. And he was having a baby, and so we weren't doing that. And so I went to this writing group a couple of times, and then his baby was born, and now I'm back on the Tuesday night. So every Tuesday I'm going to be an uncle to the baby, and I'm every week I get the messages from the writing group being like, we're everybody meeting? And I'm like, I can't. I stopped saying I can't because I haven't been there in 8 months now. It's hard. It's hard to keep it up in person, especially when people have busy lives and there's other events and things going on. Whereas online, you can have a much broader circle and you can easily change times and you can do it from home when it's convenient to you and things like that. So there are many benefits. And you can get it face-to-face time like this on calls.
I never do that anyway, but This is like my third
what?
Zoom call since before the pandemic even started.
Oh,
So,
perfect. That is, teach me your ways. I got to tell you, that is something else. I guess one of the things I wanted to sort of wrap up with, I guess, is also, as Craig said, you've come to the end of your elegant literature time, and you've come out on top in the end. Um, what are what's next for Charlie? What are you looking at in terms of your writing path, and where is your focus currently, and where are you kind of looking ahead to?
well, so I already did a lot of prompted contests before I even discovered Elegant. So I'm just
Mm,
continuing doing those. That is just, it continues
mhm.
to be a way to every few weeks or whatever, um, generate new stories
Sure.
of whatever, depending on the contest, the length could be 100 words or it could be 5,000 words. Um, and, Elegant was like a nice little sweet spot in the middle there. Um, I will miss being able to submit. Um, but it's not the end of me. In theory, I mean,
A
I've
fifth
already
publication
written.
with us is not going to do you any more good. You got four. You have the award. Like, get out of here, man. Go do other professional
Yeah,
contests.
Pushing you out of the
exactly.
nest.
Yeah,
Exactly.
time to fly.
I mean, the money wouldn't hurt, but
Yeah, this editor likes your work, so it'd be sweet if you could just keep
exactly,
pumping them my
exactly.
way.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm looking into a legal name change. uh, no, not gonna
We'd find
actually
you
do
out when we
that.
got back on this call for the next winning story.
Exactly.
Like, hey, wait a minute.
You're like, wait, that's Louis. I've seen
Put
that dog
a fake
before.
mustache on top of the.
Yeah, it's like clean shaven and longer hair without the glasses, and it's gonna
Exactly.
be Louis that I have to keep an
Yeah.
eye.
Big like red afro or something. Yeah. Um you would know me like birds
Yeah.
in their portents. You'd recognize me eventually. No, it's not worth it. I have written a couple of novels, none of which are published. I have a self-published novella, and all of these are things like I have a novel, and then I wrote the sequel, and I want to rewrite the sequel before I figure out whether I want to self-publish or try to find um, traditional publishing. And then there's a
Sure.
self-published novella where I want to. That's a cyberpunky thing. I want to write more in that universe. Maybe self-publish a few more novellas and then repackage them as a sort of novel. I've got all these plans, and then um, but I'm not currently working on any of those things. I'm just kind of waiting for whatever the next contest prompts are going to be.
Do
And
you? I mean, I know the time when I was writing a lot of short stories, I would look at these anthology calls or look at these contests and things like that. Um, do you like the kind of limitations in having somebody else sort of give that prompt?
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Talk about that sort of process and
Yeah.
just a sort of like
Actually, like the
getting
more
started there.
bizarre and specific, the better for me. It's interesting. So my writing, stories, like I said, I started when I was a kid and I wrote horror, and then in the beginning or early 20s, I was writing literary fiction, and then it felt like around the time that I was 25 years old, my ideas just dried up.
Hmm.
I just like couldn't get find anything new to write. And that went on for decades, where every now and then I would get something and I would write a story, and then something else would come and I'd write a second story, and something else would come and I'd write a third story, and then it would stop. And then I would go 5 more
Mhm.
years without writing a word. Um, but in 2019, I, on a whim, joined one of these contests and discovered fairly quickly that this was what I was missing all along. Was just being told, write a drama set in a forest fire and include a mechanical bull, which were real prompts that I had. That just like my brain just immediately, and in fact, actually, one of my problems, not a problem, but with the elegant prompts is that they aren't weird or specific enough. So so actually, I already told Craig this, but I will say it now that I have, prior to Wrong About, despite the fact that I've been submitting sometimes multiple stories a month to Elegant Literature for a year and a half, I've actually had never written a story for Elegant Literature before. It was always
interesting.
The prompt is secret societies with, I forget what the object in secret societies was, and I looked through my catalog like, oh, I've got this story, imaginary birds about these, two kids who discover they're in a cult. Let me, revise that and clean it up. Like, I mean, it's not that I wouldn't put effort into it. I would really work hard on making, these stories work for the call, but I didn't originally write them for the call. And I would say that the reason I did this is because the prompts are not weird or specific enough. Just like dreaded destinations, that could be too many things. A gate doesn't narrow it down enough. And so, in fact, in the case of Wrong About, my friend Jamie, who by coincidence then, 2 weeks later, went on to become a reader for Elegant. So Craig knows him well.
I have to make a note. He recused himself from judging your story. There's no bias. He recognized it as yours. They don't get names. It's all done blind, but he recognized it as yours and went, I can't have an opinion on this. Your friend being a reader did not help you.
Yes. Trying to come up with a joke and it's just not happening, but
it's totally fine.
So he was a big he's actually the person, one of the people who turned me on to Elegant Literature in the first place. And he was like, why don't you ever just write something new? I'm like, well, same as I've just said, his prompts aren't weird or specific enough. And he's like, I will give you, I'll pick a couple things and you pick a number, and then I'll, whatever number you pick, I'll give you that thing. And then that's something you have to include. So we did that.
Okay.
And
was it the vape?
It ended up, what? No, it's the mechanic. It's the mechanic.
Okay.
The vape was all me. But he said, and no, the mechanic doesn't end up playing that big a role. The fact that Frank is a mechanic, or that his father was, I forget. But it was just enough for me to go, oh, okay, I've got a story. It's just how my brain works. That you tell me dreaded destinations and a gate, it's not enough. You say dreaded destinations, a gate, and a mechanic.
And a
Like,
mechanic.
got it.
Interesting, because I very deliberately tried to keep it as open as possible to allow people to do things, because some people really don't like getting so shoehorned in, and also the variety of stories. The fact that we take all genres. But it's funny that we're talking about this, because part of it came from, long ago I read a book called Brain Steering, and it was a business book. It was about organizational and creativity in the office place, basically. But one of the things I took away from it is that humans don't do well without constraints. So, and they did an example in the book where it was like, think of anything. And it's like, you can't really, I forget exactly what the example was. Yeah. And then they gave a couple constraints, and all of a sudden you're just firing off all these different possibilities, because you need that box to work within to do it. And I've tried to cheat it a little bit. I tried to give everybody the box to work within with the prompt, with the theme, and then writing out the prompt to give all the ideas. And the thing, I've tried to give them the box, but it's really an illusion of a box. You can write almost anything.
Anything,
Like,
yes. Yeah. And I mean, to be clear, I would not like say you should be doing anything different. I love
I'm not.
how you do. Well, yeah, no. Who am I?
You're
I'm
out,
just some,
Brian. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
done.
you're done. You've already won. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, hit the brakes.
I'm just some award winner. Whatever. Don't listen to me. No, but I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't tell you to be doing it. I think it's great, and it probably works great for most people. I'm just a weirdo. I know this. Like my brain is just
You found
know,
the trick to get around it. And interesting that the first time you write an original piece, it's the one that wins. And I was
Yeah.
my one of my wrapping up questions was going to be asking you to give advice to people who are aspiring to be in the place you are. Like you're an award-winning author now, and maybe maybe you don't feel like you are in a place to give advice to people because you won a contest for emerging writers, but there are people who are several steps back who are looking at where you are now and aspiring to be that. I was going to ask you for some advice, but maybe the advice that you can give is just write an original story. But
I imagine most people that is what they're doing. Because one thing about me is that, aside from also writing, since like seriously since 2019, but also, I've been writing like the earliest story that I have published was written in, I think, 1991. So I've got this huge catalog of stories to draw from. So you give me a prompt, a Dreaded Destinations or Secret Societies
You'll have
or
something.
Mundane Magic, and I go, okay, what works? Most people don't have that. And so they
That
have
makes
to
sense.
write new stories. Yeah.
That makes sense. I will, however,
And I-
ask you the question because I do
Yeah.
want to see what kind of advice. Is
Yeah.
there something that you found, because you do have this a history of experience and a sort of a wealth of practice? Is there something that you've found that has worked well for you, or that you would maybe tell yourself 5 or even 10 years ago to help you, become a better author, become a better writer, that maybe
Yeah,
use to somebody watching this video?
Absolutely. A couple things, and they're all kind of connected. One is community. Find a writing community. It made all the difference for me. And I'm I said I have social anxiety, and I'm also like, I can be a little antisocial. But so I don't gravitate. I'm not immediately like a joiner. But I've been in a few writing communities that I, mentioned earlier, and they completely have changed. Just having access to other writers for brainstorming, for beta reading, and then this is the second part is read other people's work. Beta read. It's not just about your own thing. It's about reading. Learn to read and analyze things other people have written, because then it will help you get distance from your own writing and see what other people are doing that's working for you, and what other people are doing that doesn't work for you, and steer yourself accordingly. That was a huge, like, having access to that and discovering that this was something I could do. Well, I can just read other emerging writers' works and offer my opinion. I think has had a huge impact.
Your award-winning opinion.
On my now award-winning opinion. Before, like a
Now they
month
have
ago,
to listen to you.
my opinion was worth nothing. I was just another loser. No.
Yeah.
Good advice. That's basically
Yeah, such
it.
a great point about the finding out what you don't like or what doesn't work for you. I think that's such a good and underrated piece of advice I don't hear a lot from a lot of people, because it's very easy to say find out what you like or what works, and then you can use that. But that opposite is so important, I think, as well, because that is more defining of your own voice and your own style. And it's not necessarily the hardcore mechanics of it. It's more of that little extra, the zhuzh on it,
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick, I want to throw that question to you as well because, if we're looking at you're the judge here, you've selected Charlie, you've made him an award winner, but you're the judge, you may
Yeah.
be a little further down the path as far as people watching this video are concerned. Do you have some advice that you would give to anybody watching this or to yourself 5 or 10 years ago?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think we both started to get serious about our writing around 2019. I was about the same, like the end of 2018 going into 2019, when I left my full-time job and had all of a sudden had time to write. So for me, it's always when I look at like advice and what worked for me, with all the caveats attached to it, like this may not work for you, this is what works for me, take it with a grain of salt. Um, Having a consistent writing plan, by which I mean I write at the same time every day. It may not be for very long. I may not have any ideas when I'm sitting down for those 30 minutes to an hour. But I try to get that writing time in every day, Monday through Friday, and Saturdays and Sundays are off. I have kids, as we've seen. The viewers will not have seen, but I have family and other things, family and other responsibilities and things. So I like to make time for that as well. But giving the writing a designated time and sort of sitting with it and making it not just something that comes whenever the muse strikes, but something where um, treating it as a part of who I am and what I do has really helped me in terms of like production. And once that happens, I feel like it's almost like a waterfall effect, right? Like you start writing stories, you get ideas for more stories, you'll get connections to other writers who then open your eyes to opportunities that are out there. There's anthology calls you'll hear about, and all these other things. And if you're not doing the work, both of like the actual button chair writing work and the work of connecting online, being a writer in those spaces, then you're going to miss out on a lot. So that's kind of my big overarching advice
Yeah,
for
fantastic.
folks.
Sounds like we've got
Yeah.
consistency, community, and continuous learning is gonna take you a long way in your writing career if you do all that. Great advice, guys. Thank you very much. I want to wrap it up here, Charlie, by asking you, by reminding you yet again, you are an award-winning author, and asking you. I just want to see, you came. Elegant Literature's published you 4 times. How do you feel like Elegant Literature has had a big impact on you, and would you recommend other writers who are emerging, give Elegant Literature a try? And would that like how do I articulate this properly? Do you think what we're doing here is a good thing? I'm looking for testimonial fodder
Yeah,
here.
yeah. No, no, no. I love Elegant Literature. I already have said, I'm going to miss being able to submit to Elegant Literature. I think Elegant Literature is doing a great thing, all aspects of it. The magazine is an amazing thing. How much you pay is practically unheard of. Um, and for me, it was a lot of times just like a chance to put my best foot forward. And now I'm going to have to find other places to do that. Did I give you what you needed?
You sure did. Thank you very much. And congratulations. I've loved your work. I've loved reading your work over time. We talked about this on our other call. You have that writing the same story over and over again, where it's not the same story, but the themes are. And sometimes I thought I could tell your work over time and I could not. But whenever I had selected a story for publication, and when I reveal the names and I get to find those out after everything's set and done, and I see your name in there, I'm always like, that makes sense. Like Charlie is a fantastic writer. I'm so pleased to have been able to publish you 4 times and to be able to give you this award because I think your writing is amazing. After meeting you and having this conversation, I think you're fantastic. And I think I think that you don't need Elegant Literature anymore. I'm sure that with the quality of writing and the mindset behind it, that you're going to go far as to wherever you want to apply yourself to. So congratulations. I hope the money helps you, but I hope the award helps you with confidence, with opening doors, with going forward with your career. I can't wait to see what you do next. You have a fan in me. So
Thank you.
fantastic. It's so great.
Seconded.
Patrick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you both
100%
guys.
agree.
And Patrick, thank you once again. It has been fantastic working with you. Thank you for choosing such an excellent story by such a fantastic author as the winner.
Yeah, it was
giving us this
great to do
opportunity.
it.
Yeah, really great to work with
Absolutely.
you. And so that will bring us to the close. Thank you, everyone else, for watching. If you haven't somehow made it to the, if you made it to the end here without reading Charlie's work, by God, go read the magazine. We have, let me just pull my statistics up here. We have something like 452 stories published by emerging talent, many of whom have gone on to publish more novels, both traditional and self-publishing, and find much success in many other magazines. So you can read all 452 stories, including 45 award-winning stories, who have all earned a $3,000 prize, for free on the website. ElegantLiterature.com/magazine will get you to our entire catalog. We do not charge for reading the magazine, so that should get you through at least a week of reading 452 short stories, depending on how fast you do it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you both for being here and being part of Elegant Literature. It's so great to have you, and everyone else, we'll see you next time. Thank you.